Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Harry Brelsford from SMB Nation, and if you're on the West Coast or close to us, it's in fact morning. If you're in the Midwest or the East Coast, it's becoming your afternoon. And for those people in Europe, it's your early evening, and those in Asia, it's very, very early in the morning. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Oh, my goodness, we have a lot to do today. A little bit of housekeeping up front. Be sure to use the chat feature to ask your questions. A lot of you know that from our weekly webinar series. We'll ask questions at some breakpoints when appropriate. I'll raise my hand and ask questions of Tim and Ryan, who are here today from Dell to talk about Active Directory. This is one of our more technical conversations, just by the very nature of the topic. So that's pretty cool. So I know a lot of people are excited about, it's been a while since people have thought about GPOs and that kind of thing. So with that said, I again want to thank you for your time. It is a late August Thursday, and I get that. It's the kids are going back to school. It's vacation time for others. We're fitting it all in before Memorial Day, and then we get real serious back in the IT industry. So this is actually really well timed. A little food for thought today, and you can act on it tomorrow. So with that said, I believe, other housekeeping, by the way, just FYI, folks, it was just over a month ago that we introduced the SMB Nation peer groups. We have our XP migration service at xpmigration.com introduced in a month. And then finally, the fall conference, the SMB Nation Fall Conference, is October 10th through 12th in Las Vegas, again, the 11th annual. So with that said, let me turn it over to Tim and Ryan. Tim, how are you today, sir? And where are you located?
Hi, Harry. Thanks for that. I am located in the Seattle area, just on Microsoft's doorstep here. As you see the lovely fall colors in the background there.
Yep.
So it's still morning for me, but I'm happy to have the opportunity to talk to your SMB Nation audience about Active Directory and some of the challenges. So
Absolutely.
With that, what's that?
Oh, I said absolutely. No, let's get going. Hey, I should jump across. I'm across Puget Sound on Bainbridge Island. I should come over and see you this afternoon.
Yeah, that'd be great. We should get some coffee.
There you go. All right, let's get going.
So listen, Active Directory is something that's been around for quite a while, and Microsoft has evolved over the years, and they've given you lots of tools to manage Active Directory, and when you look at it from a surface perspective, it's something that may appear that's easy to manage, except when it's not. So as you scratch the surface and AD becomes the center of a Microsoft ecosystem, more and more relies on a functional Active Directory. So we're going to focus on what I've heard around the world as some of the more challenging aspects of managing Active Directory. And when you're able to handle these tasks in a simple way, in a central consolidated way, hopefully your life gets easier and you can do more outside of spending your time managing Active Directory. Now, I'm going to approach this today from the perspective of a tool that we offer, but I also want to say that it's by no means the only way to do what we're talking about here. There are native methods to do a lot of what we're talking about, not everything. There are certainly other tools on the market, but I like to think that we offer a good consolidated solution that allows you to take some of the frantic nature of managing AD and ensuring AD is up and running out of the day-to-day operations. So with that, what do I hear around the world is challenging for people? These 4 tasks in particular are ones that people talk to me about, and something we've spent some time on making easier for people. So we'll talk about these in detail today. And one of the things to mention is that as Microsoft has evolved their operating system and Active Directory and the things that rely on Active Directory, the tools that they have gotten more diverse. And for those of you who are managing multiple versions of Windows OSs, you know, sometimes you have a tool that works in one OS and not in another, and you need different rights for this or that, and it can really be a challenge to make sure you're covering everything you need to and monitoring everything you need to have a good operating Active Directory. So with that, on a daily basis, some of the things that you might do, some of the tools that you might look at are things like the Active Directory recycle bin. I mean, that was a great addition to the Microsoft OS and the management tools, but it can be difficult to find the needle in the haystack. And in fact, you know, oftentimes you're looking for one needle among many needles in many haystacks, you know, depending on how many domains you manage. I know even some of the SMB Nation customers manage multiple forests, and you may have a struggle there understanding, you know, what am I trying to recover? How can I quickly and easily get back to what I need? Something that I mentioned previously with regards to managing group policy is Group Policy Management Editor, you know, the latest addition to managing group policy. There was the GPMC snap-in, the Group Policy Management Console, and then Microsoft introduced the Group Policy Management Editor, and they've gone on and added lots and lots of group policies to Windows over time. And it just can be a struggle to understand what you're managing, and the fear of making that live change and seeing it, you know, replicate out can be something that's quite daunting. One that we're all probably familiar with is Active Directory users and computers. To, you know, go in, create a user, seems very simple and easy, and this is one of those that I like to say is those surface tools that appear easy to use and simple to do those simple tasks. But as you do more and more complicated things with your users and computers, you can really struggle to do particularly permission changes on those users or how it applies through computers. The other thing I see people using quite a bit is the event viewer. And the event viewer is great. It's a single source on an individual computer, but it's dependent upon the application developer to show you what they think is important in particular fields, and they're not always going to match. For instance, the SQL events, as they come through, and you look at SQL events in the event viewer, if you've turned on auditing, you know there's one SQL event, and they kind of dump everything in, whether it's a security event or some T-SQL that you're tracing. You know, it can be really difficult to understand across different applications and across your entire enterprise on a bunch of different servers. So it's easy to bring it up, but it's not always easy to go out searching for the information you want, because you may not know which server it's on, or it may be on multiple servers. And then going back to the more programmatic instances, you know, Microsoft has given us a lot of interfaces. You know, first it was just the CLI interface, and then it was VB Script, and the latest incarnation is PowerShell, which is extremely powerful, and you can do a lot with it, and you can automate a lot with it. But unless you're a real deep programmer and can spend a lot of time on those programming tasks, which some of you may be able to do, it can be a real challenge just to get what you want out of PowerShell. And of course, these are only some examples that I hear across the world from administrators that are struggling to keep up of some of the tools that they use. So with that, let's see, there we go. What I hear from administrators is they're looking for a simple way to do a lot of tasks through one window with as much automation as possible while still adhering to the security principles that you set in Active Directory. So that's what we look to do with Active Administrator. What we try to do is create a single one-stop shop for most of what you're going to do in Active Directory. It's really quick to install. It's one simple way to do a lot of functionality of what most people do on a day-to-day basis. It's a way to set up security from within the single console and know that you're maintaining that security. And then it's auditing on top of that to see who's using that security, what changes are happening in your environment. And then finally, around group policy, the resultant set of policy to see how your policy is applying across your enterprise, and then taking that and modeling it in a way that if you go and make changes, you can see how it's going to affect your users. So, you know, we've talked about a lot of what you do on a day-to-day basis. We talked about what we're pitching from a simplification standpoint. But we're looking for feedback from you. I mean, what I'll say is this is a living product and something we continue to develop. So as we go around the world and talk to Active Directory administrators, you guys are the right audience. The SMB Nation is the right audience because we're trying to save time and effort and make things simple and automated. So, you know, as you're doing things on a day-to-day basis, if it's something that we can't accomplish in Active Administrator, I do want to hear from you. And today is a perfect place to bring up the things that are challenges for you beyond what we're talking about today and how you accomplish them today if you can. So with that, I'm going to jump into the first of the 4 tasks that we talked about. Active Directory, as you may know, is something that should be backed up, and when something goes wrong, you know you've got that backup, so it can be recovered and restored, but sometimes that's not always as easy as you want, and the way you can break Active Directory is sometimes so simple that you'll find that, you know, it can be something like a simple 3-click to delete an OU, or the one I hear more often than not is I mistakenly dragged and dropped an OU into another one, and that kind of broke policy and it broke how things are working. I know I've done that in my test environment very easily, and then I have to go in and search for that OU. Where did it end up? What happened? So, you know, that's one of the first ones that I know it can be really simple to do. And then as you go in and you manage users and you make some quick changes, you might make a change that breaks policy or stops a user from accessing the resources that they rely on. And, you know, when it's a janitor, that may not be a big deal, but when it's the CEO or somebody trying to accomplish some business, and they are reliant on their account and privileges, and one little miskey can cause a huge exposure. Knowing that you have a good, clear backup and can restore it quickly is kind of key to what's going on. And kind of along the same lines here, GPOs are live, and, you know, making a change to a GPO can be problematic, and it's certainly one that in a large production environment, one that you worry about, because you could make one change that can stop everyone from accessing the internet or getting to their email. Harry, I don't know, have you had any opportunity to either destroy an Active Directory or be there when somebody tries to recover it?
Oh, if only the walls could talk, let me tell you. No, I'll have you know, I can wrap a little bit of context around this. Is that, but believe it or not, one of the early books I did, I'm looking at it over here, for IDG, was Active Directory Planning and Design. And let me just look at the year. Oh, Windows 2000, good Lord.
Nice, you were early on.
I was early on and out of my league. I also flunked out of C programming. So there's a little bit of roadkill on the pathway to success, let me tell you. But the point is this. Let me relate it to this audience, is that in the small business server time frame, which did come with some GPOs in place to perform some tasks, there was that curiosity is one way to put it.
Yeah.
and
yeah.
there's women and children on the phone today, so I'm gonna be more careful. But but there was that curiosity, myself included, and so absolutely. And I'm not alone. You're not alone. Good call out. Please continue.
Well, as I see this, and this is one of the challenges I hear from administrators around the world, Windows administrators, AD administrators, especially those people who have to manage it all, like those who are managing small and medium-sized businesses. So what we've done is try to give you simple access to recover just the objects you need, or just the individual properties, or allow you to be very granular about what you restore. And I've tried to do a simple comparison. If I had to do this with native tools, I can certainly accomplish it. But when you got somebody breathing down your neck saying, this business needs to close today, or I need to send out this presentation, or something needs to happen and it's broken and you need to restore, how long before you get things back up can really be one of the things that's frustrating. So yeah. With Active Administrator, we've tried to give you some simple tools to find what you need as far as recovery, and give you the capabilities to recover just what you need. So I'm going to switch over here to Active Administrator.
Can I add, if you don't mind, let me just add another contextual comment to that.
Sure.
When I wrote that book and was doing research and living and breathing it, I also found the directory services area to be political. So you're talking about sort of the pressure, and in the design of Active Directory, and as you set up the business units and stuff, and this also happened with NetWare with NDS. I mean, the directory services concept was not strictly a Windows server. When Windows 7 was my idea, right? That commercial.
Yes.
With all due respect, NetWare was early with their NDS, but does that make sense that not only is there pressure in this environment, but there's also some horse trading that goes on about who controls who and what, and I've been there.
Absolutely, and you definitely see it in the design phase of Active Directory.
Hello.
Yeah. And as applications get added on top of Active Directory, like Exchange and SharePoint and things of those nature, what happens is it gets more and more political. So the quicker you can recover things, and the more, for lack of a better term, assurity that you can give management that you've got it under control, and should anything go wrong, you're able to do your job and get things back up quickly, kind of becomes not just a badge of honor, but a necessity for maintaining your job and keeping things running.
And Tim, would you mind taking a question that kind of relates to a stage that we're at from Robert Ludiker, one of our attendees?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, Robert says, for an MSP, can one license be used to manage multiple domains clients, or would we need to license this per AD domain?
It's licensed per AD forest, and I'm going to ask Ryan if he can unmute himself and join in here. Ryan's on my team for this product as well. Ryan, I believe our answer is it's managed per AD forest. But
yeah,
definitely, Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's actually licensed, per individual AD user.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the number of users in your environment will equate to, how the product is licensed.
Right, and that boundary is a forest, although we're flexible in our licensing, and if you end up with users that exist in multiple forests, our sales team will work with you on the proper contract terms to fit that for you.
Perfect. And yeah, no, that does. And folks, I just do want to remind you to use the chat feature to ask your thoughtful and sincere questions. And let's continue. It looks like we're going to get into the good stuff now.
Yeah. So just to give you an example, this is Active Administrator, and it comes up on the start page and tells you a little bit about what's going on. We've tried to make it your single pane of glass for not just what you do in Active Directory, but also things you do in Windows that involve Active Directory. So you'll see some other things in here, and I'll touch on the other pieces as we move along. But I do want to focus on recovery for right now. So Active Administrator will keep a number of backups for you on a daily basis. And when somebody comes to you and says, hey, I accidentally deleted a user account, can we restore that? We give you the ability to pick the backup that you're interested in, go look for an individual object. Say I want anybody whose name has a T in it, and go find that individual object, and then select that object. I've got quite a few users here with T in their name. Select that individual object, and then go and restore things like their security descriptors or a single individual property. You can see down here I can select just this individual object, an object and anything it contains, an object and anything it contains of an individual type, and then I can even select what attributes to restore. You know, somebody accidentally deleted the home MDB, for instance. I just want to restore an individual attribute. And then when you go and you pull back something like an undeleted user, you can decide how you want to manage their password. Should I recover it? Should I give them a password that I go ahead and enter, or should we generate a random one and then send it to the user? So we've tried to make the process of going about recovery much more targeted and granular. You certainly can do a full Active Directory restore here, but more often than not, somebody's done something negative and doesn't have any way of getting back what they've done. You'd come in here, you'd find the individual object, you can point it at different domain controllers. If you manage multiple domains, you can point it at multiple domains in that forest. Find the object you're interested in, restore just what you're interested in, and get back up to speed very quickly and easily. So that's the very brief recovery demo. There's a lot going on behind there, but in the interest of time, I want to talk about the other things that I've heard that are challenges as well. Now, GPOs are something Microsoft introduced with the very first version of Active Directory, and it was a good approach at taking a template of permissions and settings and rolling it out to computers and users. But it's gotten more complicated over the years, and it certainly hasn't gotten easier to manage. In fact, you've got the Group Policy Management Editor, you've got the Group Policy Management Console for earlier versions, and just coming in here, you've got a set of questions that happens when you come in here. My slide deck seems to be moving a little slow.
You know, that is, well, Tim, if you don't mind, one humor and one serious comment
okay.
as we wrap context. First of all, please get past that slide with 13 and a half years, because I've noticed I have a touch of gray when I look in the mirror. When I look in the mirror,
Yeah.
I see a little touch of gray, and that slide's traumatizing me. But seriously, folks, there is a community member I haven't talked to in quite some time, and maybe you're aware of him, Tim, but friend of mine, author Jeremy Moskowitz,
Oh, yeah.
is kind of the man. How
He's the group policy guy.
Yeah, he's the guy. And folks, take a look. Give his books and his site a fair shake. You can search engine them and find them, and tell him Harry sent you. But no, this is his baby. So please continue.
Sure. So you come in and you're trying to manage those permissions, those settings en masse, and group policy is the way to do it. And I think it's a good solution, but managing it brings up a lot of questions. So I know if you're working in a live environment and you're going in and making a change to a Windows setting perhaps, you want to know, if I make this change, is it going to break something further down the line, and is somebody going to come to me tomorrow, next week, a month from now and say, hey, why doesn't this work anymore? And tying that back to group policy is always a worrying thing, and you're never sure, is that a group policy setting? Did I make some change that broke it and this user just hasn't used it since I made that change? So you're asking yourself, I make this change, when does this change actually apply? When will the end user see it? And if I do something wrong, how do I make that change to roll it back to what it was before so that things are working the way they were before? And then from a historical perspective, if you're somebody that's in managing group policies on a daily basis or making multiple changes, you want to know, when did something in particular change? There's no history in there. So there are also other perspectives, other questions that come up, who can actually make that change? And when I go make a change, what am I actually changing? And what I mean by that is group policy, as Harry can probably tell you, is not isolated just in Active Directory properties. It's spread across registry entries on individual computers and settings that are managed in different ways. So it really means a bunch of things. There's no one central place where an individual group policy setting is that you can go fix this for one user. So you don't know what you're actually changing when you change a setting on the computers for the OU group policy. So understanding all this is certainly something that can be worrying, and something that you want to know, is there a simpler, safer way of doing that? So we've kind of taken the approach from Active Administrator that we want to make it a lot safer and a lot more friendly to manage group policies than what you get in the native tools. So with that, we maintain a history of all the live group policy changes that have happened over time, and allow you to do a comparison of the original version of the group policy versus version 5 or 13 or 26, and know what those changes are quickly and easily, generate a report. We also give you that capability, kind of the safety net of doing some offline editing. Let me see what would happen if I made that change, and that ties into that advanced modeling that you see. Let me go make a change. What would it look like to an end user? And if that's acceptable, then I can roll that out to production in a more process-oriented, safe way than just making that change live and not maintaining any sort of history. So that's what we've done in Active Administrator. And as you'll see within the same console, I can just click on the Group Policy tab, and I've got a couple different ways to look at things here. This is my live environment, and I can go look in individual OUs. I can look at the individual group policy objects. If I look at them by container, as I go in and look at an individual group policy here. I can say, tell me about the default domain policy. Tell me about the GPO settings, and quickly generate a report of what things look like in your live environment. Where have we actually touched an individual setting? That's great to be able to get this from your group policy, but it doesn't end there. You go in and you can look at the different versions of policies as they've landed across your environment, and you can see what the changes are from individual version to individual version. And if you, pardon me, if you find a version that worked previously and stopped working, it's as simple as clicking the rollback button to get that functionality back, and then you can go do the analysis on why didn't that change work. We also maintain. Go ahead,
Tim.
Harry.
If you don't mind, I haven't seen that before, and that is cool. I mean, I just want to give that a highlight, because that is the undo, or over in the world of SharePoint, that's like version control, like, you know, keeping 6 copies of the last document.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It gives you a level of comfort that you know that a working policy, you can go and change it. If you've modeled it and it still has unintended consequences, you can just quickly come back here and roll back.
Yep. Excellent. Well, I just want to give that a shout out. Please continue. Oh, and folks, it's the bottom of the hour too. Tim, just a little housekeeping. Folks,
Sure.
We're going to give away the Amazon card at the end of the webinar, so stick with us. I'm going to spin the random number generator to pick the winners. That's a $50 Amazon card. Thank you very much for attending, and also use the chat feature to ask your questions. Tim, please continue.
Sure. So we also maintain a repository so that you can have your offline modeling, your offline settings, and manage them in an offline mode. You'll see there's the capability to check out, check in and discard all changes, or check in and accept all changes. And you can run reports on your offline GPO settings, and then even do a live comparison of what I have in my offline repository versus the live environment, so that you can know whether you should take this policy and apply it to the live environment. The last two here I'll touch on very briefly. Gives you the capability to take a look at an individual user and see how policy applies to them and what changes you would make using either the offline repository or using the live repository by unchecking that box. And I'm just going to pick cancel there. And then from the user's perspective, what are they seeing at the client side? Being able to view the deployment log file, the user's log file. You can generate a detailed report of what's gone on with group policy. It's really your central place and your safety net for group policy to be able to manage things in a controlled, process-oriented way without too much overhead, and all from within the same console. All right. The next piece is one that we really started on with Active Administrator, solving a problem here. And it's one that I know as people look at including more people and doing things around Active Directory, sometimes you can really struggle with the proper delegation. And you really only have one way of delegating things in Active Directory. How do I get people to be able to reset passwords, or be able to create users but not delete them? All sorts of things are handled through delegation, but it can be a struggle to go in and find exactly what you're looking for, because Microsoft's given you a ton of information here on how to delegate, and creating a custom task to delegate gets even more complicated. You can really bog yourself down in the levels of complexity here as you get into what I want to assign, what individual objects I want it to apply to, and when I want it to apply, and for how long. There is no way within Active Directory to say, I'm going on vacation and I want Harry to take over for me to manage all of Active Directory. How can I set it up so that he has all the rights, but when I come back, it takes it away from him? Because I don't want to go in and set up the delegation and then come back later, run the delegation of control wizard to go remove those settings that I had. So it can be difficult to find the settings that you set, and then removing those later can be quite difficult. And Microsoft does continue to provide a level of delegation and at a layer that can be so head-scratchingly difficult as to make you wonder, am I doing the right thing? Have I set the right thing? And once I go in and set it, am I going to be able to find it later? This is really where we shine with Active Administrator. We've given you an easy way to create a set of rights, apply those to individual users or groups of users forever, for a limited amount of time, and report on all that and ensure that as people manage those over time, it continues to be what you want and hasn't deviated from what you've set up in Active Directory.
Hey, Tim.
So, yes.
Yeah, got a couple questions rolling in. We have Michael Larkin. Thank you for attending, Michael. Michael says, does AD admin generate the GPO history from pre-AD admin or just post-AD admin?
I'm not sure I understand the pre and post AD admin.
I agree. I'm not sure I understand the question either. Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if his question is, if I install Active Administrator today, will it be able to get me a history of all my GPO changes? The short answer there is no. It manages group policy from the time you install it and will maintain a history from then on and allow you to have that safety net from then on. Michael, if that's not what you were asking, maybe you can reword the question and resubmit it to Harry?
There you go. There you go. That'd be fun. Another question. I think this is a fair question. I have this question. Is this solution specific just to Dell servers, or can I get that old white box, what is that bare computer over there, and use your solution? I don't know. Do you have an answer for that?
I do. So Active Administrator has actually been around for quite some time, and it wasn't until last October that Quest Software, who was the people that was our previous company, who became the software group at Dell, really took it over, and it's not even branded Dell yet. It'll happen in the next version. So short answer is it works on any Microsoft platform. You can install the console on Windows XP, 2000, up to Windows 8, and you're absolutely fine. You can stick the server bits on any server piece because there's things that happen on a schedule, like the backup and the maintaining of the GPO policies and things like that. So this is not tied to Dell servers or Dell hardware in any way. And in fact, you won't even see the Dell branding until the next release, which should happen early next year.
Okay, cool. So that's a shout out to Dennis Pillow for asking that question. Okay, Tim, let's continue.
Yeah, let's take a look at how we would delegate. Yeah, I still need to in my lab. I still need to activate. So everything happens under the Security and Delegation tab. I'm going to focus here, just in the interest of time, to take a look at Active Templates. Active Templates is a way for me to take a set of tasks around computers or group policies, or we've had a generic management section here, and apply that to an individual user. So as I look at something like the ability to create user accounts, or delegate and manage user accounts, here I've had it delegated to myself. Those things allow me to create, delegate, and manage users from within a single policy. And we call them active templates because what it's doing is it's applying those permissions across your DCs, and we're also checking to see, has somebody deviated using native tools to set new permissions that go beyond what we've set in active templates, and we'll generate alerts and send you email when somebody does that. And we'll also give you the capability, and it's on by default, to reapply the active template and make sure that the permissions you've set through active templates and active administrator are the ones that are maintained. So as I look at this policy here, I can even set an expiration date. So I can say, I'm on vacation and Tim's going to manage this for me. I want to be able to, a month from now, 22nd of September, just take away those rights from Tim. This is great for the administrator who needs to take some time off, is going on vacation, is away, and needs to just give somebody temporary access to do things like unlock user accounts or give them full capabilities of managing OUs. So Active Administrator gives you a way to manage all these security permissions and report on those, looking at both native permissions and what we apply with active templates, and giving you an idea of how things are working in your environment and a simple way to manage it. We also maintain a password policy so that we've made it easier for you to, in your forest, to give a real fine-grained password policy and make sure that that's maintained, much like active templates, making sure nobody's going in and editing the individual Active Directory properties that would contain this, or a group policy that would contain this, and you're applying your password policy centrally and managed through this one window. So that's a breakneck speed through the delegation section. So in the interest of time, we'll keep moving forward. The next piece that I hear about from people is, how do I know what's happened in my environment? I want to pull in the auditing records from all my domain controllers, all my member servers, and basically find the information that I need in a central way. Well, using the event viewer, you know, if you do a simple task like taking a file that should be audited and just opening it, do a few edits and closing it, you can get hundreds of events. And in my one example where I made it really give me a lot of information about the auditing around my notepad file, I got 106 events just by opening a file, editing it, saving it, and closing it. That can be a lot, especially as the number of servers that you're managing grows and you're trying to find an individual event and you're having to go to multiple servers and point it at multiple servers and find the information that you're looking for. It can be a real challenge as you turn on more and more auditing and are looking for finding more and more information across your environment. So as Microsoft has improved their operating system, just like group policies, they've expanded on auditing policies. And what used to be 9 auditing policies, they've gone to over 50 now with Windows 2008 R2 and Windows 7. And it can be a real struggle to understand what applies where do I go find the information, how do I interpret these events. It's gotten more and more complex as they've added these subcategories of auditing. And it's important to remember that this log data is stored on each individual server, the DCs, the member servers, the Exchange servers. You have to know to go to each of these servers to see if there are records that you're interested in. You know, do I have to go to one individual DC? Do I go to 3? Do I go to 7? Windows doesn't have a way to centralize these. And for us, that's one of the key pieces, is pulling in this audit data. And one of the, just on a side note here, one of the things that it does do for you as well, because we're pulling in these events on a scheduled basis, you don't have to maintain huge event log files on your individual servers, and that can save you disk space and processing time. And if you're trying to load up huge files in your event viewer, it can save memory if you're trying to look at it on the individual server itself. So that's a byproduct of pulling these records off the individual servers. There's also a security piece here that if somebody has access to a server but not access to Active Administrator, you're secure in the fact that you know I've got all the audit records in a central place, and if they go erase the log files, I'm covered. So I know I stole a lot of my thunder here as I talked about what we do in Active Administrator, but really the key is how do you get answers to somebody that's breathing down your neck and saying, hey, who did this and when did this change and what happened here? Active Administrator collects all these logs on all your DCs, each domain controller, and stores them centrally in a SQL server, and then gives you the capability to not just group, sort, and filter, but you can run reports. So you need to know on a monthly basis who accessed certain files, who made changes, who made permission changes on an individual VC or those sorts of things. We'll give you access to that and allow you to generate those reports very quickly and easily back from within this centralized console of Active Administrator. Let me switch back over here to Active Administrator, and you'll see we've got an auditing and alerting section. And one of the pieces that I do want to point out is we'll also audit changes to Active Administrator itself. So if you do have multiple people that have access to the tools and they're making changes like adding new people in to give them access through Active Administrator, you'll get events in Active Administrator that will show you those sorts of things. You can easily take a look at a report of what's going on in your environment. You can look at individual event details and send those out to an individual. So when somebody does ask you a question, you can quickly create a filter or edit the existing filter to give you answers to questions. And when you go in and edit the individual filter, you can see how do I do that? I can go by a specific time. I can look for individual users or specify just selected events or exclude particular events. If I'm looking for a particular event ID or just the failures across my enterprise, really these filters give you the capability to quickly create those individual reports, get answers to your questions, take a look at the details of an individual event, and then send it out as an answer to somebody or generate the individual report and then send that out to somebody or automatically have it delivered as a PDF to somebody. I mentioned the alerts here. You can set up the alerts and notification of things like your Active Directory replication test and changes to Active Directory, all sorts of things that I know people ultimately end up looking at and generating questions around for you guys to answer. And a lot of times what I see people do if they don't have something like Active Administrator is pull in event logs from all the servers on a scheduled basis, dump it into Excel, and then try to group, sort, and filter there. It's a method that you can use, and in a pinch it works. It's not quite as good as defining a filter in Active Administrator or setting up an alert when an event does happen where, you know, somebody from a specialized deleted users OU actually logs back in again. You want to know, you need that active alert of what's going on in your environment so that you can keep track of what's happening without having to scour these logs on a daily basis. Or, you know, if you don't have a tool like Active Administrator, pulling those logs in and then grouping and sorting and filtering in in Excel. I've got Exchange on the mind. So it can be quite a challenge to get the answers that you need from the auditing data that you have. So Harry, before I kind of wrap things up here, do we have any questions at this point?
Sir, we do. Hang on a second. Let me scroll back up. We have one from Joseph O'Grady. Joseph says, I arrived a little late. Maybe this was covered. Is there a limit for enterprise objects / license structure for Active Directory administration? Is there a limit?
There is no limit. In fact, even though we're saying this is a good fit for the SMB, we do have enterprise customers that use Active Administrator as well. There is no object limit. We work just fine in the enterprise as well, but what we typically find is that administrators in the enterprise tend to have more specialized responsibilities. And the SMB community is actually the ones who have a lot to do and are maintaining things like Active Directory, SharePoint, all the files on the Windows file servers, and they have a lot to do, and they need a tool like this to help them get their hands around managing Active Directory and the pieces around Active Directory in a simple, centralized way, where in the enterprise there tends to be, a group of people that are maintaining Active Directory, and these are my group policy guys, and these guys are maintaining security, and I have a different group that does audit. And it's just fine to use it in that environment. We just find that the SMB community is a really good fit for Active Administrators. So, getting to you and your audience, Harry, is a real benefit for us and a really good fit for what we're talking about here.
Cool. Well, thank you, Joseph Grady. Folks, definitely a reminder, we have a few minutes left, so definite reminder to use the chat feature. Ask those questions. Please continue, Tim.
Sure. So we talked about some of the big challenges around Active Directory, but I don't want you to think, a couple of things. I don't want you to think Active Administrator is the only way to do this. You can certainly use the native tools. It's just easier to use a centralized, single-purpose, dedicated application like this. And I know sometimes that can be a hard sell to go to your boss and say, hey, make my life easier. Hopefully I've given you some ammunition to say, hey, this won't just make my life easier. It'll make our environment run a lot smoother, be a lot safer, allow me to get you answers quicker. Because just telling your boss that, I want this is often not a successful approach. He'll ask for, why do you need it? And hopefully I've given you a little bit of ammunition today. As I said, I don't want to say this is the only way of doing it. I do think that we've got a good solution, especially for those frenetically managing AD. You're pulling out your hair. You've got so many tasks to do, and you end up working late or calling in at night and managing your Active Directory. These 4 tasks that we've covered today are by no means all that Active Administrator does. I wanted to focus just on the top 4 things that we talked about. And as we talk about how we get Active Administrator out, it's really easy to install, doesn't require any professional services, should be a simple install for you both on your workstation for the console and on a back-end server. It does help you cover a lot of area in an integrated, centralized console at what we feel is a good price. It does give you more security around Active Directory, including things like those self-healing active templates. And ultimately, the sale to your boss and the CFO is you want to ensure business continuity and get them answers and resolution quickly and easily, and this tool can help in that area. So I know I've droned on a bit about Active Administrator. I do hope that I've hit some of the high points that are pains that either you've experienced or you've heard about, and shown you that there is an easier way to do it. There is a safer way to do it. And, you know, dare I say there's a better way to do it from a centralized, simple console. And it is a product that's evolving, and I want to go back to that point. We do want to hear from you and hear about the other things that are difficult for you to do in your environment. You know, is managing certificates something that's difficult for you, or is managing a third-party DNS or DHCP something that you really struggle with? So do take this opportunity to give us some feedback. If we can answer questions about the existing product today, fantastic. If you want to give us feedback for what things Active Administrators should do, maybe you're using it today and it's not doing something that you wish it would do, let us know.
Cool. We have another question from Jeffrey Goodling. Jeff asked, can we get a trial?
Absolutely, and I think on the next slide here, there we go. If you take a look at the link at the bottom here, I believe, and Ryan, keep me honest here, it comes with a 30-day trial license that can be extended for an additional 30 days. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, Tim. It's a fully functional 30-day license. You can download it at software.dell.com/active administrator. And I do believe in the recording email we're also going to include a link, so you can record it here, or you can wait to get that email with the link to the download.
Absolutely. And gentlemen, if you could get that to myself and Heather, my thank you email goes out in the morning if that's one way to get that out, and I'm 100% sure you'll be following up with the attendees today, which is likely another way for them to get it. But any materials you'd like me to send out tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Pacific, my weekly thank you, let us know. Let's see, Heather, okay, Heather's reminding me to pick the winner. Folks, last call for questions. We are at time, and I've spun the random number generator. It came up with number 29, and number 29 is a Rupert Vernon from a company called Cloud9 IT, Westport, Connecticut. So Rupert, you won a $50 Amazon card. Heather will be getting you that information. Wait a minute. Westport, Connecticut, you're playing Seattle in the kids' Little League World Series.
The Junior World Series.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to spin again, okay?
No, come on.
All right, okay, it's all fair in IT. You know, what I love about IT is cooperation, right?
Yes. Great term.
Exactly. So let me just peek over at the reader board one more time to see if we have any other questions. We are at time. We have no further questions. So Tim, any final comments before these good people get back to work?
I appreciate that you guys took time out of your day to listen to us here, and hopefully we've at least given you some idea of what we can do for you if you're so inclined to help with Active Directory management. And Harry, I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to present to your audience. I think it's, as I said before, I think it's the ideal audience to talk to about how we can make their lives easier and simpler and safer. So I really appreciate your audience and your SMB Nation. Thanks for the time today.
No, absolutely, and I truly enjoyed this webinar. I don't say that every week, so I mean that with all sincerity, and thank you very much. Folks, have a great day, and be sure to get one foot out the door and enjoy a little vacation time if you're in North America, north of the equator, before winter returns. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye. You bet.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.